I was doing some research into a video I was going to make about Manuel Noriega, his involvement with the CIA and why the U.S. had to go get rid of him. There's a lot of false information out there about, I should say, what happened during his ouster. But during this, I'm going to make that video eventually, but during the research phase, I found a very interesting little tidbit that I think folks in my audience are really going to appreciate. It has to do with this thing called the Lima Consensus. A lot of leaders, Central and South America, got together to condemn Mr. Maduro and his government and state unequivocally that they don't accept things the way they are, and it's, not something they're going to deal with, all this la la la. This is Mr. Kaczynski, the leader of Peru right here, speaking to his left, our right, is the Vice President of Panama. We've covered her before. Down here, though, she has a kind of a strange look on her face, and even a stranger one when this man is speaking. This is Chile's Foreign Minister, Geraldo Munoz, and he told the reporters this little quote. "What we want is to reestablish the broken democratic order," Munoz said, adding that Chile does not accept military coups, auto coups, or military uprisings. Meaning that he'd just say, we're not going to deal with Maduro. We're not going to deal with this military dictatorship. That's kind of a strange thing to say, because unless you knew what happened on Martyrs' Day in Panama, you just let it go by. You see, Martyrs' Day is a day in Panama that it's a day of national mourning because of this riot that basically got out of control back in '64. Kennedy had ordered that the U.S. flag, there's two areas down there. There was Panama and what they called the Canal Zone. The U.S., of course, is the one that built the canal, and there's an area down there that was primarily Americans and American Panamanians. This actually has a little bit to do with Noriega, two different groups of people. Noriega was of mestizo background. They actually have some folks that have an African background as well. The darker-skinned Panamanians kind of lived separately from the lighter-skinned Panamanians. And you see this in Colombia as well. At one time, actually, Panama was a colony of Colombia, but another story. Anyway, the funny part about this, and it's funny in the way that you can't make this stuff up. So they have this riot. President Kennedy ordered that the U.S. flag was to be flown alongside the Panamanian flag in the Canal Zone. And this was back in '64. And there was a treaty. It was called the High Buena Varela Treaty. Let me see if I can get this right. High Buena Varela, yep, treaty. And what it did is it gave control of the zone to the U.S. in perpetuity in exchange for $10 million, meaning that it was going to be ours, forever. And Panamanian country, it was just recently liberated from Colombia. It was very, very poor, $10 million, a lot of money. It pretty much got them on their feet. Well, and this was 1903 when this happened. Well, when President Kennedy ordered this, it was very shortly after that he was killed, and the governor of the zone issued a decree limiting Kennedy's order that the U.S. flag was no longer to be flown outside the Canal Zone schools, police stations, post office, blah blah blah. Well, the people in the zone were having none of that. And so they started flying the U.S. flag everywhere they could, and they started flying it at this high school. Well, the people outside the zone, the Panamanians, were having none of that as well. And so these two groups of people got together, and the riot ensued. And anyway, a lot of people were killed. The U.S. military had to step in. It was a mess, and this was '64. So in 1970-something or other, Jimmy Carter decided to abolish the 1903 treaty. And he created the Torrijos-Carter Treaty. Now, you're not going to believe this, folks. I'm just going to have to read this for you. The Torrijos-Carter treaties are two treaties signed by the United States and Panama in Washington, D.C. on September 7th, 1977, which abrogated the I-Banao-Varilla Treaty of 1903. The treaties guaranteed that Panama would gain control of the Panama Canal after 1999, ending the control of the canal that the U.S. had exercised since 1903. The treaties are named after the two signatories, U.S. President Jimmy Carter and the commander of Panama's National Guard, General Omar Torrijos, although Torrijos was not democratically elected as he had seized power in a coup in 1968, it is generally considered that he had widespread support in Panama to justify his signing of the treaties. So Carter signed a treaty with a guy who seized power in a coup. And the reason the Panamanians even have control of the treaty is because they're following a leader that seized power in a coup, just like the leader of Venezuela. You cannot make this stuff up, folks. You can't make it up. It's just unbelievable. Now that they are saying that, well, we're not going to recognize Maduro because, we don't recognize coups. And literally, Panama has control of that canal because of a coup. It's I don't know what more to say about this. I mean, really, I read this and my jaw just hit the floor and I'm like, I got to do a video about this. That technically, I guess if you really want to look at it, the Torrijos Treaty with Carter is invalid. It's void. If you say that treaties done with people who seize power in coups are not treaties, then we have to go back to the I-Banao-Varilla Treaty, which gives U.S. complete control in perpetuity of the Panama Canal. Which would then probably, it would explain a lot, actually, with the issue with Noriega, that maybe the U.S. knew that. I mean, the U.S. was technically still down there, but the Panamanians were going to take full control in 99 anyway, 10 years later. So I really would like to know what my audience thinks of this little blurb. That it really kind of explains, I mean, this look on her face when he's talking about that. And he's like, we don't recognize, leaders that seize power in coups. I mean, look at her face. She's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll go with that for now. As long as nobody knows what history says. So, anyway, I got to get out of here and go to work. I just wanted to do this real quick this morning. But like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate the support. We'll see you next time. Thank you.